Hi, I'm Maddie Margarita, and it's Hump Day. You know what that means. Time for the Southern California Writers Association Hump Day Tour. Every Wednesday, the Southern California Writers Association turns our Facebook page over to a new author to introduce their work and talk about their books. This week, we're so pleased and honored to welcome Baron Birtcher. Baron is the LA Times and IMBA bestselling author of the Hard-Boiled Mike Travis series, the award-winning Ty Dawson series, as well as the critically lauded standalone Rain Dogs. Baron is a 5-time winner of the Silver FALCHION Award and the winner of the 2018's Killer Nashville Reader's Choice Award, as well as the 2019 Best Book of the Year for Fistful of Rain. Baron, okay, we're getting all the awards in here. Yeah, he also has had the honor of having been named a finalist for the Nero Award, the Lefty Award, the Forward Indie Award, and the 2016 Best Book Award, the Pacific Northwest Regional Spotted Owl Award, and the Claymore Award. Did we miss anything?
Oh, no, that was really very nice of you to go through that whole litany.
Well, I wanted to get the point across that you're an award-winning author. So, you know, we've known each other for a long time, and you have a diverse portfolio, a backlist of books, and you write different kinds of books. And I think at times they defy genre. So why don't you talk a little bit about yourself and your books so people get a sense of who you are and what you write?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for such a kind and generous introduction, and thank you for inviting me to even be here. It's such an honor to be part of the Southern California Writers Association. Anything, just fill in the blank. I'm just happy to be a part of any of it. I started writing, I spent a lot of time in the music business. I was a performer for a while, then found out that I was probably better suited for being a business guy and a producer kind of guy. So went that direction. In the late 90s, I had an opportunity to sell my company and change careers. I had been an avid reader for my entire life, starting with Hardy Boys, of course, and really fell in love with the mystery thriller genre when I was introduced to the Joseph Wamba procedurals. And oh man, game changer for me. Then discovered all the, the Raymond Chandlers and the Dashiell Hammetts, and I was lost. So writing a book was just in my head for quite some time. And as I say, I had a kind of a life change that allowed me the moment to either seize the moment and write a book that I'd always wanted to write, or move on and do something else. So I did, and wrote a book called Roadhouse Blues. I don't know if you can see that or not. Can you see that? All right. Roadhouse Blues. Came out in 2000, and man, time flies. It was the introduction of Mike Travis, who's a retired LA cop, homicide cop, turned PI. He lives in Hawaii. I put him on a yacht because I wanted him to be mobile and be able to go anywhere that a story might want to call him. But I really embraced my love of just that straight up hard-boiled PI kind of series. So thanks to brick and mortar stores of the day and some very enthusiastic support, it landed on the LA Times bestseller list. The sequel to it, Ruby Tuesday, was similarly received. And it was just, yeah, I'm still rather speechless about the whole thing. And the privilege of being part of this writing community. The most recent Mike Travis installment is this one, Hard Latitudes. And it is the 4th in the series. And it was along about the time that was reaching publication and, going through the editing process that I really wanted to embrace my other literary love, which is historical fiction. And at the time, my dad was rather ill. He has since passed. And I really started to think about my upbringing and what it was like to be a child of the late 60s, early 70s, being a teenager, and what parents were going through at the time, being worried about this world in chaos, which of course we're all experiencing sort of again. So it was all a real interesting opportunity to sort of do some research on a period of time that I lived through and trying to see it through an adult's eyes. So Ty Dawson was born with South California Purples. And
Love those covers, Baron.
oh, they did such a beautiful job. That's permanent press. And I have to say, they really did a lovely job. Thank you for saying so, because I thought so too, but you never really know how something's going to be received out in the public. Long and the short of it is the public really embraced Ty Dawson. It's not quite as hard-boiled as the Mike Travis series. It's set in the 1970s. He is a small-town sheriff and a rancher in rural Oregon, and he faces different kinds of problems than Mike Travis faces. So it's a fun exploration for me as an author, and a fun exploration of different tones, textures, and language between the two series.
Well, it's funny that you bring up language, but before we go to that, I always picture Kevin Costner in the Netflix version of those stories. I think, maybe some people might think that Yellowstone was a good choice for him. I think that would have been a better choice for him, but what do I know? Let's talk about what people find when they open a book written by Baron Birtcher. It's not like what you find in books written by other authors. So how would you describe that, and what kind of an experience do you hope readers have when they're reading one of the books that you write?
Well, what an interesting question. I think that my background in the music business somehow informs the pace and rhythm and language of the books. I really do. This will sound kind of goofy, but I really do kind of approach a book as if I were making an album. And I want it to have its own identity, and I want it to have its own story and its own draw. The chapters have to segue properly like songs, and the language has to suit the music, which is the story. And while that sounds a little hippy-dippy, it is the approach I try to stay with. And I actually make a soundtrack for each book before I start writing it. And it'll usually be anywhere from 10 to 20 songs so that I don't get too bored. But it is essentially the musical narrative of the book that I have in my head. And that is all I will listen to until I finish that first draft, just to keep me kind of inside the lanes.
So, it's funny. I think a lot of writers, when they're writing, some don't know what their theme is before they start. Some have to keep reminding themselves in whatever method they use to remind themselves. But that music, that soundtrack, keeps, I think, you emotionally tuned to writing your story. And I think readers feel that emotional draw.
I'm really happy to hear that, because that is the goal. I really want it to be a multi-dimensional experience, and I want not only the characters to draw you in and be compelling, but the sights, sounds, smells, language, all of it. I really want to create an atmosphere, and if I can get even partly there, I'll feel like I did something good.
Well, I've heard you speak several times about writing, and one of the things that I think is so interesting is the poetry and the lyricism in your writing, and the way you approach getting your idea on the page and your inspirations. So who are some of your inspirations?
Wow, there are so many. From a literary point of view, I love, of course, James Lee Burke, and let's see here, Sam Shepard. Musically, I like Joni Mitchell, Dan Fogelberg. And when you think about just those four, all of them are storytellers, no matter what their medium is. And there are filmmakers that I'm very much drawn to. I love Ridley Scott movies for some reason, and they're not particularly literary, but they're very visual, and they're very seamless in the way that he uses action. So I don't know. I guess like all of us, we draw in from what we see, hear, and read, and turn it into our own kind of thing.
So, so when you're writing a story or a book, and are you working on a new book right now, or where are you?
I am. I just finished the third installment of the Ty Dawson series, and I'm absolutely over the moon for it, which is very unusual for me. Usually there's I don't know, this might be the worst thing I've ever written. I don't know, all of that angst. And this one, it just really made me happy.
Okay, well, okay. So now we're really excited for that to come out. So thank you for that. I know we're probably gonna have to wait a while.
Unfortunately, the literary world moves at a different pace, doesn't it?
At a glacial pace, as they say. So you're the new book and you started it. Do you outline, or do you use that soundtrack as your outline, or how do you go about, because your stories, as beautifully written as they are, have solid plots, which isn't always something that you find dovetailing together. So how do you do that?
Again, thank you for, these are such kind things you're saying. I should just let you talk.
Yeah, no.
Yes, I absolutely, I sort of need to outline, otherwise I get lost. And for me, there are moments, as again, back to the music analogy, there are times when you need a high point, you need a crescendo, and then you need an end, and you need a segue, all of these different things. And to me, without a destination in mind, I don't know how to time any of those things properly. So I really do sort of need to know what the narrative arc is going to be. Every single book surprises me because it doesn't always cooperate 100%, which is also fun. But the soundtrack and the outline tend to keep me in the proper lane and in the proper tone and texture that I set out to do, so that I don't get too lost. You don't show up for work every day doing this in the same mood. And some days you want to, some days you don't. Some days you're busy thinking about other things. And any trick that you can find to sort of keep that thread straight in your own mind is a trick worthy of staying with.
I think that's something everybody should think about. So these, I'm fascinated by the playlists. Do we know what those playlists are? Are they in the book? Are they available? How does that?
I'm going to start making them available, because there's a lot of things that don't make it into the books that actually the music would be fun to listen to. Generally my books are divided into sections, and each of those section headings is a song that suits the tone and tenor of the story I'm trying to tell for that section of the book. Track. You read for the taking. However, it's a truncated version because, as I said, there's usually, 20 songs on my playlist, and there's maybe 7, 8, 9 in the book.
Well, great. So
I do have a little. Oh, I was just going to say, I have something that I have always kind of kept close to the vest, but I think it's kind of fun, and I wanted to share it with you. This is the first time I've ever really talked about it, but a little known thing in terms of architecture with both the Mike Travis and the Ty Dawson series, and the standalone, by the way, is that they are all related. And in fact, there are characters that will appear. There's one in particular that straddles both the Ty Dawson and the Mike Travis universe. I won't say who it is because it's kind of fun to find who they are. And the standalone is actually a backstory book of one of the Mike Travis characters. So all of the books are interrelated, and as you read them, you will see them and they will reveal themselves to you. But it's not anything that I've ever spoken about before, but it was part of the architecture from the get-go.
I'm muted. That was so interesting, Baron. I appreciate you sharing that with us. I wish we had more time to talk. Hopefully you'll come back and join us again.
Anytime.
That would be great.
Anytime.
All right, and where can people find your books?
You can find me on Amazon, and you can also find me on social media. You can find me on Facebook, and I'm Baron R. Birtcher, author. And I'm also doing that writer's bar with Baron Birtcher, which is a kind of a interview kind of situation, a little bit like this.
Right. Okay, great. Well, we look forward to seeing you there. And for everyone who enjoyed our bookshop with Baron this morning, you can find this on the Southern California Writers Association Facebook page, or you can find this on our YouTube channel, which is SCWA Writers Online. So I want to thank you all for being here. Baron, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you for having me.
Please stay safe until we see you again.
Bye.